Hey everybody, I just wanted to drop in some quick tips when it comes to getting your GI maps interpreted or interpreting the results from a GI map. So unlike serum blood work, the ranges aren't quite as refined. So what I mean by that is typically with serum blood work, we have ranges that we consider acceptable or optimal for men, for women, for certain contexts, such as did we train the day before, did we not train the day before. We would know that certain things would potentially be skewed or elevated based on being deep into an off season, being deep into a contest prep, or into a deficit. All of these things are going to make a difference on what we see and make a difference as to whether those skews or differences are concerning or not. So with a GI map, we are also going to consider these things. So we have a pretty set range on there. So we don't really have male range, female range, and we don't have a lot of context in those situations. So a lot of this is really open to interpretation. So when you are considering what you're seeing on there, there's some pretty important factors that you want to keep in mind. One, men versus women, a male versus a female. Amounts of food perhaps are going to make a difference here, right? So what I mean by that is generally a male is probably in most cases eating more than a female, and in turn probably going to have more total bacteria. An off season versus a deficit, or a surplus versus a deficit of calories could potentially make a difference, right? Are we overfeeding the bodies? Because if we're overfeeding the body, then we're probably going to have an abundance of bacteria growth. Now, of course, that's also going to be dictated by the diet. So what is the composition of the diet? Are we leveraging fatty acids or dietary fats more so than carbohydrate? Are we leveraging carbohydrate more? Are we eating a lot of fermentable foods in the diet? Are we not eating a lot of fermentable foods? So what you really want to do here is you really want to ask, like, what factors would potentially cause the bacteria to overgrow, and what potential factors would potentially cause the bacteria to maybe perhaps not grow. And you need to match this up with symptoms, because with symptoms, we can really determine, are these contextual variables we have really a problem? Are they problematic? Is this person actually have any issue? Do they not have any issue? So for example, like what you see here, this amount of overgrowth might be a lot more problematic or symptomatic in one person versus another based on the context, right? So we always need to look at symptoms. We always need to look at the context as to what is going on around that person and their environment, with their amount of nutrition, with the composition of the nutrition, with their training. Did they train the day before? Did they not? What kind of things are going on in that person's life and environment that would potentially cause or contribute to the results that we're seeing, because your flora is changing constantly. Everything we do probably cause at least some micro adjustment in flora. So we really want to try to do our best to take all of these things into consideration and then formulate our plan of attack once we've kind of determined our outcome.